Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New to Vero 2. I'm your presenter, Shabu RU. Now, the second act is usually important. It's always the act that builds up to the climax of the story. And in part 2 of The Death of Snake Eyes, we're going to reach that point, but followed by another iconic Larry Hama theme that he's famous for. Just to recap, the two major players are, as we know, Snake Eyes, obviously, and also Throwdown. I want the reader or the listener to focus in on Throwdown's evolution in this, because it's going to set up to what is currently going on in G.I. Joe. And I didn't say it, but in the past, I mentioned that Throwdown, aka Sean Collins, Wade Collins' son, in the letter to Snake Eyes, he was the young man who, got that letter from Snake Eyes. And it's important because he's actually known as the last brother. So he is the last of the Arashikage line. Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, Jinx, Billy, and then Throwdown. So he is the seal of the Arashikage G.I. Joe affiliation. And in that sense, that's why he's an important character for the future. Now, I also want the listener to look at Serpentor's image. And that goes back to the end of the Cobra War, Civil War, with Zartan's arrow. And, again, in killing off characters and bringing them back to life is nothing new in comics. But Larry Hama's a little bit different. And, I don't know what's going to happen to Snake Eyes in the future, but he's very much in play in current G.I. Joe, in the sense that his mere presence has an impact. So without further ado, let's continue on with part 2 of The Death of Snake Eyes. Jumping right in with our foot hard on the accelerator, Serpentor-controlled robot has just finished decapitating the Cobra Black Shadow robot. Red Laser and Throwdown simultaneously look to each other for answers, but both are baffled. Bazooka, Dusty, and Outback are keeping a close eye on Throwback's position, while CoverGirl has the Wolverine primed for action. Back at the pit, Scarlet and Stalker wonder how Serpentor was able to fool them by controlling all the electronics and the robot from across the world. They theorize it has something to do with alien technology. Alright, Joe fans, we have to deal with the good and the bad, and alien tech is what Hasbro has brought upon us. But the real purpose of Scarlet and Stalker is to buy time for Snake Eyes to sneak up on Serpentor and get the jump on him. While Serpentor gloats on his accomplishments and impending doom against the Joes, Snake Eyes leaps into action, sword drawn, charging Serpentor. Quickly, Serpentor pulls a lever and the floor drops beneath Snake Eyes. And Snake Eyes comes crashing down. We could hear Scarlet screaming in the background, "Snake Eyes!" Mainframe and G.I. Jane work frantically to crack the virus that Serpentor has embedded into the computer. By the way, when did Serpentor have time to get a degree in computer science? While they figure that, Serpentor descends to the platform where Scarlet and Stalker are. 2 of the original 13 Joes prepare to engage. Black Major orders his combined force of Red Shadow and Cobra troopers to engage the robot. Initially, our Joes serve as observers to the impending battle, but Duke calls in and orders them to also engage. Throwdown also hears the same orders, and he's going to do something either really stupid or really heroic. We find Snake Eyes clinging, using his sword from saving him from falling down. He uses his sword to climb back up so he can engage Serpentor. Can Snake Eyes make it back up to save his friends and loved ones? Throwdown orders Red Laser to get as close to the robot as possible. His plan is to jump onto the robot and get to a spot where the robot can't get to him. Mainframe and G.I. Jane continue to struggle with Serpentor's computer virus. They need some other way, a backdoor way to regain entry into the system. Roadblock starts getting back on his feet just as Serpentor starts slapping around Stalker as if he was nothing. Scarlet comes to his aid with the ninja star that Serpentor calmly brushes aside. He grabs her by the neck and dangles her over the ledge. Notice his eye, remnants from Zartan's arrow from that fatal shot. Snake Eyes keeps working his way to come to his girl's aid. Throwdown, the last brother of the famed Arashikage, works his way inside the robot as it blasts off into space. Remember, he has a Techno Viper suit on to protect him from space. He ignites his lightsaber whip. I mean, that's what it really is. Maybe he can take on Kylo Ren too. The robot tries to swat him away like a lion trying to deal with flies. The weird thing is Serpentor is sensing all of this and controlling the robot simultaneously while engaging the Joes at the pit. With everything he can muster, Snake Eyes flings himself over and onto Serpentor, bringing him down. Stalker races over to check on Scarlet. Serpentor unleashes a fury of combos onto Snake Eyes. He's in trouble, but just then Roadblock comes in on the save and starts pounding on Serpentor. Back on Earth, all Dusty and Outback can do is look on as Throwback faces a dilemma. If he disables the robot in space, he'll be stuck and have no chance of coming back for a rescue. His oxygen is running out. But he has already made up his choice. It's one of the elements that Snake Eyes wrote to him about as a young boy, sacrifice for the greater good. Just when Roadblock seems to have the advantage, Serpentor unleashes a crippling bolt and gets him down to the ground. He turns to Snake Eyes, taunting him, and then rips off his mask. With the damage done to the internal structures, Serpentor control robot descends back down to Earth, coming right over the pit. Serpentor continues tossing around Snake Eyes like a rag doll, taunting him, making fun of his face. Scarlet screams, runs to his aid, but is stopped by Duke. At this point, Serpentor holds the battered and beaten body of Snake Eyes while Duke draws on him, telling him to put down Snake Eyes. Again, Serpentor taunts the Joes, calling them pathetic, and then flings Snake Eyes onto them. Serpentor's robot lands down onto the pit as he looks upon and makes fun, but inside, Throwback is being burned alive. Duke quickly grabs a grenade and flings it onto Serpentor. Serpentor laughs and makes fun of him and says, "That was foolish, Duke." Just then, Snake Eyes intercepts the grenade and runs towards Serpentor. Throwback slices his way out of the robot. With the grenade in hand, Snake Eyes begins running towards Serpentor. Finally, he jumps onto him and tackles him over the edge, just as Scarlet screams, "Snake Eyes!" as Snake Eyes and Serpentor fall down and descend into the vastness of the pit. Suddenly an explosion comes, and it all is presumed that both Snake Eyes and Serpentor have perished. But just then, they see a hole as someone cutting themselves out of the side of the robot, and Throwdown emerges, his face in flames. He reaches down for the mask of Snake Eyes from when Serpentor ripped it off him. He grabs a hold of the mask and puts it on, revealing the spirit of Snake Eyes still lives. Snake Eyes sacrificed himself to save those he loved the most in life. His death will not be in vain. Meanwhile, the other Joes get radioed of what all transpired at the pit. And then slowly, the news is broken. Snake Eyes is dead. Stay tuned for part 3 of the death of Snake Eyes.